Joining us via Zoom this morning is Dr. Sonia Stanley Naya. She's a senior lecturer at the Institute of Caribbean Studies, but also heads our institute, where we are carrying on the call for reparations. And she's here to explore reggae's cultural impact over the years and to weigh in on whether the genre is being overshadowed by dancehall. Morning, Prof. How you do?
Good morning. I am very well. Good morning, friends.
You look
I'm sorry I'm not there in person.
Yes, why are you not here in person?
I've had to take an executive decision.
We always love having you, Doc, but it's always good to see you in person or virtually.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here with us this morning.
I want to start with reggae being not just such an important thing to Jamaica, but the world, as is witnessed by its UNESCO acknowledgement, Doc. Just how powerful is this movement called reggae?
There is no place on the planet that has not experienced this powerful genre of music called reggae. Whether it was the independence movement in Zimbabwe, we know Bob Marley took his own resources and flew his band to perform. The Tiananmen Square, the Maoris of New Zealand. There are people in the world who deify, think of Bob Marley as a divinity. Indigenous peoples around the world, our own Caribbean people, there is such a power in this music that has ignited both revolutionary energies as well as just the ones we need to sustain ourselves in the everyday. And what is really, let me say, the sad part of it all is that while this music has been taking off all over the world, events like Sunsplash got started because people were looking at reggae events outside of Jamaica. We here took the longest to understand exactly this asset that we had.
Why, Doc? Why do you think that is?
Well, of course, it has to do with class and color. It has to do with the fact that we used to consider Rastas, the underclass, the outcast, those persons we thought were troublemakers, mad people. Dirty Rasta was a term. Many of them lived on the dongle because they had to separate themselves from families by virtue of some of their practices and their philosophies as well.
Is that,
they were very much
long gone, or are there remnants of it still?
Oh, remnants of it still.
Wow.
Completely. But we have come so far.
Yeah. It's interesting that Simone asked that question because I feel sometimes, Doc, when I hear the conversation about dancehall and dancehall artists, that a little bit of that bias or prejudice that reggae used to feel. Are we still feeling a little bit of that as dancehall?
I think so. I think there's a challenge that we have daily, and I'm so happy that I'm in the Center for Reparation Research now because my focus has got to be on the authentic, the honesty of it all. You can't hide from the fact that Jamaica suffers from some real issues, and they have to do with color and class. It comes from our history. We have a history of enslavement, of disenfranchisement. Some people have just been left out of the script of the nation for whatever the reasons.
Yes.
Not the right color, not the right social status. And so our music, because it has come from the poor, it has come from the underclass, it has come from those who are not the rich, who are not the elite, the music has suffered. And today we see it still suffering.
Yeah.
And let me compare it with sport. I say this all the time, and I am on the same page with people like Mikey Bennett and Gussie Clark and all of these stalwarts in the music business who will tell you the infrastructure for sport is not the same infrastructure that we have for music. It tells you why Jamaica's well-known prowess at things like champs. You think about the music. Where in the industry do we have anything that looks like champs?
Yeah, so that was actually where I was going, Doc, because you mentioned earlier remnants. You mentioned that it took us longer to get it than everybody else in the world. I tell the story all the time. Uncle Neville Willoughby used to tell me that Bob Marley used to come down here to him, and he couldn't come inside the library. He had to knock on the library window outside, and Uncle Neville had to come outside to him to talk to him because where is this Rasta man going? And so here we are now at this stage. Some fest is still around. Sunsplash is no longer, but you fly out of Jamaica, you have Rotterdam, you have, everywhere in the world you have festivals. Doc, what are we doing? What are we doing, really?
Simone, I'm trying to be very balanced this morning. But, okay, so you fly outside of the world and people are going to tell you that France is the reggae capital of the world.
Yeah.
You have Rotterdam Sunsplash. That's just one of many. Not only that, many of these festivals no longer need to feature Jamaican artists. So the market share that we enjoy is dwindling every single year. This is not to say that in a particular year there may not be some, so let's use a reggae revival as an example. When Chronix and Janine and all of these ones emerged, Protege and all of them, they had begun to really make a mark on the international scene. But what are we doing? Let's go back to that question of what are we doing? The kind of investment that we need to make in our cultural assets, the ones that have put us on the map globally, we are not in any way, shape, or form doing that. Let me use the example of the recent announcement from the Minister of Culture about the fact that the Cultural and Creative Industries program that they're going to be instituting, a new institute or whatever it is going to be at the Caribbean Maritime Institute, University. A clear disjuncture now because there are institutions such as Edna Manley College, Alpha, UWI, VTDI. There are all of these institutions that have programs. Why aren't we investing in what we already have? And this goes to the heart of what our problem is. We are interested in announcements. We are interested in creating things new, but not investing in what we have. And I want to say that we need to stop it. And this is not a political conversation now. This is not about politics as much as it's about the logic of recognizing what our assets are and investing. Let me also go back to this International Reggae Day declaration. There are people in the world now, when they look on the websites, they will see International Reggae Day is being celebrated on July 1 because it was Bob Marley's birthday. I'm not sure that people in Jamaica understand and have taken seriously what this declaration is. And it's precisely because it feels a little artificial for some people. Bob Marley's birthday is February 6th. There's a lot that's happening in February already. Dennis Brown's birthday and so on. It's declared as Reggae Month. Why was International Reggae Day not in February? There are some things we're doing that are not logical.
Doc?
That's my personal opinion.
Yeah.
Yes. No, I'm sitting here listening to you. And one of the things, I'm thinking about ska and just how powerful that was as a genre. Well, is still.
Yeah.
But when I listen to you talk about reggae, I think ska because there may be, 5,000 ska bands in the world, and I don't know if I can name 5 in Jamaica.
Exactly, we can't.
When I think about Zim dancehall is their resistance music in Zimbabwe. I was watching American Idol, and they were in Hawaii, and when the young man started singing, and the whole place, I was like, isn't that reggae? But then when you watch the conversation...
There's Hawaiian reggae.
And when you watch the conversation, who they were tagging and saying, please give credit to where the music is from. And I'm like, okay, let's see if it comes to Jamaica. It stopped right there in Hawaii. There was a gentleman in his locks singing his song, and they took the song. And I'm like, where do we just own it? Where do we own it? I have no problem with others singing it, others doing, but at the end of the day, when do we own it?
So one of the positive things that has happened, obviously, is that declaration of reggae from Jamaica as one of the, listed now on the UNESCO's intangible heritage list, right?
Yes.
And that is very positive. everybody in 20 years, you know, people may think reggae came from Japan or Hawaii. If we didn't do that, at least somewhere somebody will Google and it may say it belongs to Jamaica. But of course, reggae is not something that can be contained. And every single country has its reggae artists.
Yeah.
And we in Jamaica, our task is to make sure that we are preserving, we are building, we are sustaining these assets, these cultural assets. And let me just say, I say this every time, Jamaica is the only country on the planet to have given the world 8 distinct genres of music in the latter half of the 20th century.
Yeah.
And there's no musical genre created since the 1960s that has escaped influence from Jamaican music.
Yeah.
So we're not talking about a patty shop. I mean, some patty shops are well run now. We're not talking about a fly-by-night business. We are not talking about something that can just be brushed under the carpet because it came from some people who were poor from the wrong color and section of the society. We are the ones not taking ourselves seriously.
Yeah. And so today, as we mark a milestone, you spoke about the revival with Chronics and Proto and the rest. Have we really revived, Doc? What does the future look like to you?
Simone, the future has to look like investment in education that involves or has music education as a solid part of it. Just like when students enter schools and go into a house and they are immediately oriented to sport, that has to be the way we do with music. Music teachers can't be teaching accounting. Music teachers can't be guidance counselors. Music teachers must be teaching music.
Yeah.
Students must be oriented to music. So let's look at the fact that when you think about musical artists who have come from Jamaica, Marcia Griffiths, John Holt, Bob Marley, Jimmy Cliff, all of them, Sister Nancy, they are all outliers. We must stop it. The future must be that investment is a given in our music.
All right. Powerful way to wrap this up. Thank you so much, Doc.
Thank you for having me.
It was great to have you. Good to see you, Doc. Dr. Sonia Stanley.
Yes, the
Nair.
title has changed to Professor.
Yes, I was going to say, but then Harris did say Prof at the top, so let's do this right.
Okay.
Professor Sonia Stanley Nair. Is it Professor Doctor or does Professor subsume?
Professor subsumes it
Okay.
in this context.
There you
yes.
go. Thank you very much for that education, ma'am. Professor Sonia Stanley Nair. She's a senior lecturer at the Institute of Caribbean
That
Studies.
is, yes, and head of the Caribbean Center for Reparations Research.
Yeah. Important
Up to the
work.
break, we speak with sound system selector Little Shaba.